Many years ago, near a remote desert in Arabia, there was a small town. In that town lived a kind and just king named Sultan Ibrahim. Under his rule, the people were so happy that even tigers and deer drank water together from the same stream in peace. Every creature lived in harmony and safety. Sultan Ibrahim had an only son named Prince Abdullah. He was intelligent, kind-hearted, and skilled in every task, but being overly pampered had made him a little stubborn. Whenever he desired something, he wouldn't rest until he got it. One day, Prince Abdullah was returning from hunting. His soldiers and hunters had fallen behind while he rode his horse far ahead. In the scorching desert heat, he became thirsty. Looking around, he found himself near an area of the town where weavers lived. Colorful cloths were drying everywhere, and the weavers were busy at work. Suddenly, the prince's eyes fell on a house. On the rooftop, a young woman was drying her long black hair. Her beauty mesmerized the prince. He had never seen such a beautiful girl before. Her dark hair shimmered like moonlight. The girl also noticed the prince, quickly covered her face with her veil, and went inside. It was then that the prince seemed to come back to his senses. Just then, his companions caught up with him, and he was forced to return to the palace. But the girl's face never left his mind. So he sent his trusted servants to find out about her. They returned and informed him that she was the daughter of a poor weaver and her name was Fatima. Prince Abdullah became obsessed and fell sick on his bed, declaring that he would marry Fatima or else give up his life. Almost 3 weeks passed like this. When Sultan Ibrahim heard the news, he grew worried. He knew well about his son's stubborn nature. So he called the chief mufti Hassan for advice. The wise mufti said, "Now is not the time to stop the prince. Let him fulfill his desire. This is merely the stubbornness of youth. Once he spends some days with the weaver's daughter, he will come back to his senses. Later, you can marry him to a princess. Besides, kings often have many wives. This girl will just remain in the corner. What's the harm in that?" Hearing this advice, Sultan Ibrahim found it reasonable. He called his son and said, "Considering your stubbornness and desire, I grant you permission. You may marry that girl." So Prince Abdullah summoned the weaver Ali and his wife Zainab. Trembling with fear, they appeared before him, thinking perhaps they had committed some offense. But the prince declared, "I wish to marry your daughter Fatima, so prepare quickly." The prince thought the weaver and his wife would fall at his feet in gratitude for such an honor. But instead they replied, "Prince, your wish is a matter of great honor for us, but we must first speak to our daughter. Without her consent, we cannot decide anything." Hearing this, the prince grew furious. He thought, "I am raising the honor of a mere weaver by wanting to marry his daughter, and yet he dares say he must consult her first?" But his love for Fatima forced him to control his anger. Sternly, he warned, "I am not used to hearing refusal. If you deny me, I will throw your entire family into prison." Terrified, Ali and Zainab returned home. They told Fatima, "The prince wishes to marry you. If you refuse, our lives will be in danger." Fatima replied, "Very well, I agree. But tell the prince I have 4 conditions. He must come himself to hear them, and only if he accepts my conditions will he be allowed to bring a wedding procession." The next day, Ali went to the palace to deliver Fatima's message. Fear gnawed at his heart. What if the prince became enraged and ordered his execution? How dare a weaver's daughter set conditions before the prince? But his love and curiosity about Fatima held him back. He thought, "Let me see what conditions this weaver's daughter dares to set. Then
Without delay, the prince went with the weaver to his house. The weaver's home had only 2 rooms. Downstairs lived the weaver Ali, his wife Zainab, and his mother, while upstairs lived Fatima. When the prince arrived, Fatima came forward and said, "If you accept my 4 conditions, then I agree to marry you. My first condition is, I will not spend the night in your palace. In the morning, I will go there, and in the evening, I will return home." The prince thought, "What kind of condition is this?" He smiled to himself, thinking, "Once we are married, who would leave the palace and return to this little house?" So he said, "I accept this condition. Now, tell me the second one." Fatima continued, "You must not try to touch me or even talk to me." The prince laughed. "Is this a marriage or a joke?" But again he thought, after the wedding, everything will change. So he said, "I accept this too." Then Fatima said, "My third condition is that I will not drink the water of your palace." The prince thought, "This is impossible. If she spends the whole day there, how will she eat or drink nothing?" But he said, "Very well, I accept this too." Finally, Fatima said, "And my last condition is, if you ever try to touch me, then our relationship will end immediately, and I will never return to you." The prince thought, "What a strange girl. After marriage, such conditions will vanish anyway." So he replied, "Fine, I accept all your conditions." Hearing this, Fatima agreed to the marriage, for she did not want the weaver Ali to face danger on her account. Soon after, the prince brought a few friends to Fatima's house, and the wedding ceremony was completed. He then took Fatima to the palace, but Sultan Ibrahim and the queen did not attend the marriage. Only the prince's trusted maid Sarah was present. When evening came, Sarah approached Fatima and said, "The carriage is ready for your return." Fatima immediately rose and sat inside the carriage. The next morning, she returned to the palace and sat in her chair. She neither ate, nor drank, nor moved, remaining like a statue of stone. In the evening, she left again. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Like this, 6 months passed, but Fatima's routine never changed. The prince's hopes before the marriage were shattered. Bound by her conditions, he could not even catch a glimpse of the face that had once driven him restless day and night. People in the court began to gossip. Sultan Ibrahim and the queen grew anxious. One day, the Prince Abdullah summoned the weaver Ali and said, "Tell your daughter to understand her duty. She is now our queen. She must live in the palace. Leaving every night like this does not look good. People are talking." The weaver folded his hands and replied, "Prince, let me tell you the truth. Fatima is really not our daughter. One day she came to our house and told us she had no one in this world. She begged us to accept her as our child. Since we had no children, my wife, enchanted by her beauty, agreed. She has lived in the upstairs room ever since. We do not know what she eats or does. Sometimes she comes to my wife and calls her mother, and that alone makes her happy. She made us swear never to reveal this, so we kept silent. In reality, we have no control over her. Please forgive us." Saying this, the weaver left the palace. The prince then sank into deep thought. Finally, one day, he said to Sarah, "I am going somewhere. I do not know where, and I do not know when I will return. If my parents ask, tell them I have gone on a journey and that I am safe." Sarah was deeply saddened to see the prince in such a state, but she thought perhaps this would bring him some peace. So Prince Abdullah set out into the desert, wandering for months. One night, while searching for a cave in the snowy mountains, he saw a light glowing inside. Carefully, he entered and found an elderly saint, Sheikh Omar, absorbed in worship. His eyes were closed, his long hair and beard were dusty, and before him a lamp was burning. Half of its wick had already consumed. The prince sat down beside him and immediately felt a sense of peace. Sheikh Omar remained absorbed in worship while the prince stayed in the cave. Every morning, the prince fetched water from the spring, washed Sheikh Omar's hands and feet, combed his hair, cleaned the cave, and gathered fruits from the forest for them to eat. After nearly a month, Sheikh Omar opened his eyes. Seeing the prince, he said, "My son, you are a prince. What are you doing in this poor fakir's dwelling?" The prince replied, "Since you already know I am a prince, then you must also know why I wander like this. My parents worry for me, but I have no desire to return." Sheikh Omar said, "My son, you made a mistake by marrying Fatima, but since you have served me with such devotion, I will not let you go empty-handed. Take this ash. If you apply it to your head, you will see everything clearly, but no one will be able to see you. Go back now and spend time with Fatima. Then you will know who she really is and what her mystery is. My blessings will be with you." Saying this, Sheikh Omar gave him the ashes from the lamp. The prince tied them in a cloth and set off on his return. When Prince Abdullah finally came back to the palace, his clothes were torn, blisters covered his feet, and his body was weakened. Fatima still sat on her chair, unchanged. The maid Sarah was overjoyed to see him and exclaimed, "Prince, where have you been? What has happened to you? The Sultan and the Queen asked about you often. I always told them you were traveling." The prince replied, "I am very tired. I will sleep now. Wake me only when Fatima leaves in the evening."
That evening, Sarah woke the prince. The prince applied the ashes given by Sheikh Omar to his head and secretly followed Fatima. The next morning, after returning, he told Sarah, "Today I will sleep in that chamber. When Fatima comes and sits down, you will wake me and insist, 'The day has passed, why are you still asleep?' Even if I don't want to answer, you must press me with questions." Hearing this, Sarah understood the prince's plan. When Fatima came and sat down, Sarah woke the prince. At first he did not get up. Then he rose in irritation and said, "What trouble? I was seeing such a beautiful dream and you have ruined it." Sarah replied, "Tell me, what dream did you see?" The prince hesitated and then said, "Last night when Fatima left, I went with her. She got into the carriage and I climbed into. I rocked the carriage and she scolded the driver. When we reached home, she went upstairs. What a marvelous chamber she had, carpets of gold and silver and a golden chair. I sat on that chair." Sarah asked, "And what did you say in her chamber?" The prince replied, "Do people talk in dreams?" She took off her clothes and told her maid to prepare bath water. I went into the bath house as well. She poured 1 jug of water and I poured 4. The water finished quickly and she scolded her maid harshly. The maid said, "I prepared water just as always. 3 times more water had to be fetched." Then Fatima asked for food. From the sky descended a golden platter of food. She took 1 bite and I took 4. Soon the food was finished too. Again she scolded her maid, who replied, "I prepared food just as always." Afterward, Fatima dressed herself finely and went to the roof. From the sky descended a flying throne. I clung beside her and went along. Sarah asked, "Then what happened?" The prince said, "Then the throne flew over the moon and stars to the realm of the fairies. There the court of their king Jibrail was assembled. When Fatima entered, everyone honored her as their queen. At one point, her turn came to dance. I told the drummer, 'You take rest.' Then I played the drum and Fatima danced so beautifully that all were enchanted. Finally, King Jibrail gave her a silk handkerchief. I slipped it into my pocket." Sarah said, "Then show me that handkerchief." The prince replied, "How can I show something from a dream?" But Sarah reached into his pocket and pulled out the handkerchief. "Is this the one?" she asked. The prince, astonished, said, "Yes, that is it. But how did it come into my pocket?" Hearing all this, Fatima turned fully towards the prince and gave him her attention. Sarah asked, "Then what happened?" The prince answered, "King Jibrail again requested another dance. I played the drum and Fatima danced. Then the king gave her a ring and I kept it in my pocket as well." Hearing this, Sarah pulled a ring from his pocket and showed it. At that moment, Fatima rose and came close to the prince. She said, "Now you know that I am not the weaver's daughter. I am a fairy from the world of fairies. Let me tell you my story." In the fairy realm, no one could dance like me. King Jibrail watched my dance every day. One day I was unwell, suffering from a terrible headache, but a summons came from the court. I refused. A second summons came, and in anger I said, "Tell the king, does he have no compassion? Here I am in pain while he is lost in merriment." The king grew furious. He summoned me and said, "Such pride, I curse you. For 1 year you shall live on earth as a mortal woman. During that time, you must keep your true identity hidden. If anyone learns you are a fairy, or if any man touches you, then you will never return to the fairy realm." I wept bitterly and begged forgiveness, but the king said, "The curse cannot be undone. However, every night I will send the throne to bring you back." Then my wings were taken from me, and I was cast down to earth. My mate came with me. I chose the weaver's house so no one would suspect, but destiny decreed that I would meet you. Tomorrow my 1-year punishment would have ended. I would have regained my wings and returned to the fairy realm. But now everything has changed. From this moment, you are my master and I am your servant." The prince, amazed by the Fatima's wondrous tale, took her to Sultan Ibrahim and the queen. He told them everything. When the sultan learned that their daughter-in-law was not the weaver's child but a fairy from the other world, they were overjoyed. A grand wedding was arranged once again, and the entire kingdom celebrated with great festivity. Dear friends, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video. And if you want to see the second part, let me know in the comments. Stay well and Allah Hafiz.